I always thought if my husband ever betrayed me, I would feel it. Women talk about intuition like it's a superpower. A sudden chill, a strange silence, a shift in energy. I felt none of that. For 5 years, my husband lived two lives, and I only found out because of a pink birthday cake. The life I believed was real. My name is Laura. I've been married to Ethan for 12 years. We have one daughter, Sophie. She's 7. Ethan travels a lot for work, or at least that's what I believed. Conferences, client meetings, emergency trips. He always came home with small gifts, airport chocolates, tourist keychains, stories about delayed flights. He never seemed nervous, never over-explained. That's what made it convincing. Stable men don't look guilty. And Ethan looked stable, reliable, calm, predictable. Predictable enough that I never questioned the late-night texts. Predictable enough that I trusted him completely. The invitation. It started with a mistake. Or maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was fate. One Friday afternoon, Sophie came home from school excited. "Mum, I got invited to Emma's birthday party." Emma, a new girl in her class. We hadn't met the parents yet. The invitation card was simple. Pink unicorn theme. Saturday, 3 p.m. Address across town. Ethan glanced at it casually. "Across town?" he said too quickly. "Yeah," I replied. "Why?" "No reason," he said, and that should have been my first warning. The party. Saturday afternoon, we drove there together. Ethan insisted on coming. That was unusual. He rarely attended classmates' parties. We arrived at a neat suburban house, white fence, blue balloons, laughter inside. As soon as we stepped out of the car, I felt something shift. Not intuition, recognition. Ethan's posture changed. Subtle, tense shoulders, forced smile. We rang the bell, the door opened, and everything stopped. Because the woman standing in front of me was someone I had seen before, in a blurred photo, in the background of one of Ethan's conference selfies. Her name was Megan. I didn't know her name yet, but I knew her face. She froze when she saw Ethan. Ethan didn't freeze. He panicked. Not visibly, but I saw it. The tiny tremor in his hand, the way his jaw tightened. "Laura, this is Megan," he said quickly, like they had never met. Megan's daughter ran toward Ethan. "Daddy!" The word cut through the air. Sophie looked up at him. "Daddy!" Silence fell over the doorway. And in that moment, 5 years of lies collapsed in under 5 seconds. To be continued. The word that changed everything. "Daddy!" The little girl's voice wasn't confused. It wasn't playful. It was certain. Certain in a way only children can be when they trust someone completely. Sophie looked at Ethan, then at the girl, then back at Ethan. "Daddy," she repeated quietly. My ears were ringing, but I could still hear my own heartbeat. Ethan laughed, too fast. "Oh, she calls everyone Daddy sometimes," he said awkwardly. Megan didn't laugh. She didn't move. She just stared at him like someone watching a bomb tick down. "Ethan," she said slowly, "what is going on?" Her voice wasn't angry, it was confused, deeply confused. That's when I understood something terrifying. She didn't know either. The double collision children don't understand tension. They feel it. Emma grabbed Sophie's hand. "Come see my room." Sophie followed her inside, leaving three adults standing in a doorway that suddenly felt too small for truth. I stepped forward. "Laura," I said calmly. "His wife." The word hung between us. Megan blinked. "Wife?" she whispered. I watched the blood drain from her face. "That's not funny," she said. "It's not," I replied. Ethan tried to intervene. "Can we not do this here?" Here. Like the location was the problem, not the 5 years of deception. 5 years? Megan asked suddenly. I looked at her. "What?" She swallowed. "We've been together 5 years. My stomach tightened. Sophie was 7. Emma looked about 5. Do the math. He didn't just cheat. He built a second life. Parallel, organized, maintained. The lies we shared. Inside Megan's house were photos on the wall, family vacations, beach trips, Christmas mornings, Ethan in every frame, holding Emma, smiling, wearing the same watch he claimed he lost on a business trip, the same jacket he said he bought overseas. Every conference suddenly had a location, and it wasn't a hotel, it was here. 2 homes, 2 daughters, 2 bedtime stories. I wasn't shaking. I was analyzing. Megan's voice cracked. "He told me you were his sister." I almost laughed. "Sister?" Ethan closed his eyes like a child caught stealing. I realized something in that moment. He wasn't a mastermind, he was arrogant. Arrogant enough to think neither of us would ever cross paths. The quiet conversation. We stepped outside, away from the children, away from balloons and cake and pink frosting. "Did you know about her?" Megan asked me. "No," I answered honestly. She looked at Ethan. "Did she?" "No," he whispered. So this wasn't a shared secret. It was 2 separate betrayals. For 5 years, we had both believed we were the only one. That level of deception requires planning, requires confidence, requires cruelty. The financial truth. The next piece fell into place quickly. Mortgage payments, school fees, weekend work trips. He wasn't traveling for business, he was traveling between lives. 1 bank account, 2 families. Split time, split money, split love. Except love wasn't split. It was manufactured. I thought about every time he claimed overtime, every time he missed Sophie's recital, every time he said, "I'm doing this for us." He was. Just not the us, I thought. The moment of clarity. Megan looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I had no idea," she whispered. "I believe you," I said. And I did. Because her shock mirrored mine. We weren't rivals, we were victims of the same illusion. Ethan tried one last time. "Please, let's just talk about this calmly." Calmly. As if this were a scheduling conflict, as if 5 years could be negotiated. I looked at him, and for the first time in our marriage, I felt nothing. No rage, no heartbreak, just clarity. "You're not coming home tonight," I said. Not loudly, not dramatically, simply final. The aftermath, the days that followed, were surreal. Lawyers, bank statements, hidden expenses. The financial damage was staggering. 2 rents, 2 insurance policies, 2 lives funded by one lie. Megan and I met again, not as enemies, but as women, comparing timelines. He told her I was unstable. He told me she was temporary. He told her he was divorced. He told me she was a client. He recycled lies with efficiency. But lies collapse when synchronized, and we synchronized everything: dates, trips, payments. The pattern was undeniable. The courtroom. The courtroom was quiet the day the truth became official. Megan filed for child support. I filed for divorce. He tried to argue financial hardship. The judge didn't look impressed. "You knowingly maintained 2 households without disclosure," the judge stated. Disclosure. Such a clinical word for betrayal. Assets were divided. Support was calculated. And suddenly, the man who felt powerful managing 2 lives could barely afford one. The final twist. A year later, I saw him once, outside a small apartment complex, smaller than either of our old homes. He looked older, not because of age, because of consequence. He tried to smile. "I never meant to hurt you," he said. I studied him carefully. "You didn't mean to get caught," I replied. "There's a difference." Sophie adjusted. Children are resilient. Megan and I stayed in contact. Not close, but respectful, because strange as it sounds, we survived the same storm. And sometimes that creates an unspoken bond. What I learned. The worst part wasn't the second family. It wasn't the lies. It wasn't even the birthday party. It was realizing how easily he divided himself, how effortlessly he performed sincerity. But here's the truth. You can split your time, you can split your money, but eventually, reality collects its debt. He wanted 2 lives. He ended up with none. And I found out the truth because of a pink birthday cake. End extended act. The collapse. The children's questions. That night was the hardest. Sophie didn't understand words like betrayal or double life. She understood tone. "Mum, why was Emma calling Daddy?" "Daddy?" Children don't ask to hurt you. They ask to make sense of chaos. I sat beside her bed and chose my words carefully. Sometimes adults make very big mistakes. "Is Daddy leaving us?" There it was, the fear, not of another child, not of another woman, but of abandonment. I held her tighter than I had in years. "No," I said softly, "but things are going to change." She nodded slowly. Children accept change faster than adults. What they struggle with is dishonesty, and Ethan had given her that. Megan and I. Compare timelines. 2 days later, Megan came to my house. No hostility, no accusations, just folders. We laid everything out on the table: plane tickets, credit card statements, hotel bookings. He reused the same excuses. He told her he was on corporate retreats. He told me he was visiting clients. Same dates, different lies. We noticed something chilling. On Sophie's 6th birthday, he had left early saying he had urgent work. That same day, there was a photo of him blowing out candles with Emma. He didn't just split time, he replaced moments. That realization hurt more than the affair. He didn't miss memories, he reassigned them. His attempt to regain control. When Ethan realized Megan and I were speaking, panic set in. He showed up at my house unannounced. "You're ruining my life," he said. I stared at him. I didn't build a second one. He shifted tactics immediately. Gaslighting. "You pushed me away. You were always distant. You cared more about routine than passion." Classic deflection. But here's the difference between who I was and who I had become. Old me would have defended myself. New me asked one question. If I was so unbearable, why didn't you leave? Silence. Because leaving would require honesty, and honesty was the one thing he never offered. Financial reality. The forensic accountant uncovered more. Hidden transfers, duplicate insurance policies, a second savings account Megan didn't know about. He wasn't just emotionally dishonest, he was financially reckless. Two families on one income meant constant borrowing. Debt had been accumulating quietly. Credit lines stretched thin. The judge later described it as intentional concealment. Intentional, not impulsive, not accidental, calculated. The courtroom, round 2. The child support hearing was brutal. Megan sat on one side, I sat on the other, Ethan in the middle, alone. His lawyer tried to argue emotional distress. The judge wasn't interested. You knowingly created financial obligations for 2 households without disclosure. That is not distress. That is deception. The room went silent. Numbers were read out loud. Support payments, asset division, debt responsibility. He went from managing 2 homes to barely affording 1 apartment. Consequence is rarely dramatic. It's mathematical. The confrontation he didn't expect. A month later, Ethan asked to meet. Closure, he said. We met in a neutral cafe. He looked tired, not broken, just exposed. "I never meant for it to go this far," he said. That sentence fascinated me, because nothing goes anywhere without action. "You scheduled 2 lives," I replied calmly. "It went exactly as far as you planned." He tried one last emotional angle. "I still love you." Love without integrity is attachment, not commitment. "You loved the version of me that didn't question you," I said. "That woman doesn't exist anymore." Megan's choice. Megan didn't take him back. That surprised him more than anything. He assumed at least one of us would fold. When both doors closed, he finally understood. Control is addictive until you lose it. 1 year later, a year passed. Sophie adjusted beautifully. Therapy helped, routine helped, truth helped. Emma and Sophie eventually became friends again. Children don't carry adult ego. Megan and I remained in contact for school events, civil, respectful, strong. I built my own stability, not dependent, not shared, not hidden. Ethan moved twice that year, downsizing each time. When I saw him again at a school recital, he avoided eye contact. Because here's the thing about double lives. They collapse loudly, but the shame lingers quietly. The real lesson. People think the worst betrayal is cheating. It's not. It's division. It's watching someone create a parallel reality while you're investing fully in one. But here's what he never anticipated. When two women compare notes, the illusion dissolves instantly. He thought secrecy made him powerful. It made him fragile. He wanted two families. He ended up being a visitor in both, and I discovered the truth because of a little girl's birthday party. Sometimes exposure doesn't arrive through suspicion. It arrives through coincidence. And sometimes a pink cake is all it takes to destroy a 5-year lie. End. Extended version. Complete.